Memory communication about line centers, timeline center, and rotations calculation high system. 3,000 line centers, 6,000 program locations, 9 million track locations. Center communications timelines times pi allocate time strain and locations. All of digital frame line centers all calculated and modified through location. Now, to understand how you are set up is training how to see your avatar line connections. Each one of you is going to be in a digital box. Now, a digital box is going to set codes. It's a 4-digit frame number that's set in position locations. You have 5 channels of operation of voice grid line centers to ask questions. So in that position location directions, each avatar is going to set locations into 200,000 years in all line positions of 0, 23. Position locations come into New Year track line center in position location directions. So that's 12-minute on the line center of the clock location in 12 million track line centers. Position location directions. Now, understanding signals and panels and communication of its future line communication system is all levels of its avatar. How to set the tone is all calculated and modified in all levels of simulation. The simulation to its graph line center interference position of directions truly stands the modification to your signals. Now, once you get in your avatar system, okay, line communication is coming to line center. So what's going to happen? It's going to go through your DNA line center interference position to your age, how old you are in calculation. It's going to send line communications to platforms, line center locations, digital paint, position location directions, digital analyzing, digital clock locations, line centers, and high interference location calculations, right? So you're going to actually see it 2 feet in front of you in calculations. And it's going to be something like this. It's going to have 2 digital line screens. It's going to go in a full communications all line center locations from head to toe. Once that's set up locations, you're on the clock of 5 questions in direct locations. Make sure you're specific at answering those line connections, right? So in that position locations, really understand the calculation where it comes into a question. Okay, really be specific because it's you in the future communication system, right? Timeline interference. Now it's allocated to time switch, which is all levels of your galaxy locations, how you set your universal line connections, right? So it's important to understand on what you're doing when you answer all lines of communication to get what you need, right? Questions are there for you, right? So really be specific on what you want to answer. Okay, that's going to help you always in forms. That's going to put you in a common line center, rotation interference, location calculations. Now, position location of directions, setting code line signals, high position of directions, code channels, high line centers. We're going to go through a mega line channel rotation interference. Now you got 40 line centers on the clock location. So in that line center location, you're going to go through a 24,000 line stream. That's going to put you in direct location of 48 windows, 72 clock line centers, and position of computer frame centers, in calculation of 144,000 miles per second per channel. Now that's going to allocate timeline switch. That's going to switch line center rotation interference. After the 5 questions are done in calculations, the avatar will basically disappear in modification. So in that line communication system, it stands on its own position online of its own grounds as a gravitation row. That row is calculated in how it remembers its communication of operation of its levels of its life system. Position line centers is all calculated and modified, and how you see yourself through provisional location. The eye receptor locations get you into mainframe of calculation. The heart reactor sets line communication to its high connections. It's on action of reaction line position, second per minute per hour per day. Now that calculates and modifies all lines of you through code signal, setting line position locations into high system. Calculate and modify to all line centers of travel position locations of directions, right? So in that correlation, we will go into the constellation path into Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is going to set line communications into levels of its scepter. The scepter line center is going to set position location directions and how everything through the oculus line rotation interference of the calculations of the pineal gland line center will show you exactly how the eye receptor is set in location in division of its own line center of 12 DNA platforms. Okay? So you're all connected to your 12 DNA, which is connected to each strand. Each strand is a singularity. Singularity line center locations like links on a chain. Okay? String theory, position location. So it's all set up location to understand the connections, right? Coasting line centers, digital frame locations. So 200,000 line centers, 0, 23 line center, 0.001 line center locations, box positions, time factor, time line times pi. Line communication to the avatar system. Get them in activate string line center, code sig location, interdimensional line center interference, division location, high center, intergalactic location, interdimensional line rotation interference. Go into all center locations into intergalactic center location AI tech. Set position location, all track line centers. 40-minute on the clock locations, 40,000 hour line center, and space communication. All right, it's there. Have fun. All right, so setting line tones in connection to position of directions. We're going to set a constellation line stream. That's going to open all communication and constellation path. This is going to set the tone centers and rotation locations. The high communication centers are going to set line centers and rotation. So it's all modified in how you set your locations, all right? Okay, constellation paths, we're going to line communicate, all right? So it's all line center rotation, okay? So as it sets signals, it's going to go through a half wind pipe. The half wind pipe is going to open line conditions all over its division. Central communication line system, position and direction, right? Now, you get the X8000 line communication system, right? It's already in program setting. It's allocated to time streams and high rotation interference. Line communication and system position and direction. So line connection is all levels in how you track line centers. Central communication opens all levels of its triangulation. Okay, so right now it's on line center. Once you guys get in position and once your avatars disappear in front of your eyes, all lines will be in location and you automatically will travel to Casapia. Setting line communication of scepter lines. So we set division, setting course lines, timeline center location and triangle force line and position locations. One line upline centers in position directions. We got recourse line channels, upline division location and position. We got swirls line interference locations. Now, measures on 3 weather pattern communication triangulation, triangulations over pi, 3 line center location, 6 position of center, 9 line center location, offline communication 12 in position of 24, communication north or south and east, communication to its system. Center line communications all levels, how you set line positions to 24, comes into line center location of 48, 48 to 72, 72 to 144, 144 over factor over dock, communication line center. Hanger communication system, setting line center location of Fibonacci sequence. The Fibonacci line center opens all communication system dimensional settings, setting new tone line position location and directions, open all communication system and timeline. Sequence pattern communication system, set course line channel and direct locations. Fibonacci line centers, all line centers, star system position location and calculations. Line communication equals line box location into high center location to vector communication of volume, vector over cross locations, over equals cross line conditions and compute line centers in position location of each CPU. Now that computes position of program setting, units position location directions, opens all levels of dimension line center and rotation center communication system, allocate time streams in high line center. So line communication comes in a high force on lines. Now, everything I'm doing is in chronological order line, okay? Once you understand the position, then you understand the alpha communication to all levels of box. Box comes line into position location into V. V line center is all levels of vector. Vector equals cross line triangles. That line communicates position of direction. Now, setting sig location into 3 line communication is 6 line conditions, 9 line center locations, and high center location is 12 to 24 line communication, sets the ground tone in center line rotation. Now, that opens all cycle line centers in rotation interference, sets line communication, position of travel, 45-degree angle in communication system, equals locations and window. Window communication line sectors on communication system, setting on lines of communication. So once you come into the delta communication stream, delta line center comes into all communications, right? So delta equals alpha bravo communication into high center location of theta crosses stream location into measure comes into levels of communication system, templates line center streams, template line center location north or south and east, 4-track line centers and interference location directions. All right, so how we do through line communication, all levels of the avatar. All right. it going after we have Zoom? Anybody wants to know what's going on? This is all connected to your line connections, guys. Really understand. Barbara, how's it going? Renee, Wendy, Jill, Lindsay, Pam, Val, Veronica, Gypsy, Don, Terry, Johnny, Michael, Sparkles, Yolanda, Ashley, Nova, Adam, Heather, Airbender, Belle. All right. So let's see, we're going here. Jill, Commander. Okay, where are you guys see track locations here? Oh, so the index calculation, I center interference in direct locations. Okay. So remember, you set your locations, right? Wherever your avatar is, it's going to be in your position, right? So it's all connected to you. So remember, if you're in an emotional state, your avatar is an emotional state in the future. So it has all the answers that you need to know. So really be specific with your questions. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Communication line centers, Gypsy locations, JP, Janelle. You guys are going to have a lot of questions. Cami, Star, Guardian, Barbara, Jeanette. So it's all how you see yourself. All right. Okay. So in that communications, Joe, yes, go ahead. You can communicate this as locations, get your answers from your avatar. All right. So I'm going to quiet line center in rotation serum. A serum communication of stream. So I'm lowering my tone. Okay. So inline center. There's going to be a rotation circle. Okay, in A opposite line center. So that's operation equals location of box. Okay, box comes up line communication into 3 channels. 3 channels comes into 3, 6, 9 positions equals 12. 12 comes in location. 12 equals the line center to 12 line center locations into position. Line crosses locations into 24 streams. So it's not what I'm doing, it's how I'm doing it. And that's how you learn how to basically get your structure lines, especially when you get into your abundance. We got into the correlation of foundation line stream. If you get 26 lines, 26 equals lines, that could be anything through foundation. Line connects all lines to its box, to its TV, to its graph location of structure line center interference of its lacing line communication system. That's 20 equals line. 26 equals lines. That's this. That's all it is. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So if you understand these calculations, it gets you a better understanding how to use it through the vector to its volume, to its velocity. Okay. So let's say you want to reset line connections to northwest, south, and east. So you go through north, equal locations of east, line center / location of south. South crosses over, okay, into measure equals measure, right, equals scale. Okay, so there's one line connection that's missing, position directions, right, which is west. So the west line channel change line in rotation calculations, sets position, location, directions. West stays in on line center. It rotates its locations. So you go into west, 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 west. One diamond core line center in the same direction to its location. Hoo-ah. So saying these things and knowing exactly what you're saying are 2 different adaptations. The adaptation cycle sets line conditions of your browse adapter location of its electrical line grids. Now grid center line position locations opens all calculation. You have graph line centers of streams, points line centers in position direction. opens new levels of communications to your avatar connection. Okay. Now, once you extend the measure, everything comes in scale of formation. See? It comes into line communication of hologram structure line, setting line position location into its direction. See how it works? Setting position opens all communication. Right? So you got upwing splines. Now, a slide line position is a projector. So slide equals projector, line communication into its vector over volume. Now, vector over volume sets locations on line. Now, you can cross over location of stream locations into line positions of north, west, east, and south. So you're setting tone line channels into measure of communication of temperature readings. Now, it's extremely complicated because you don't understand your north or south and east. We really have to get more volumes, how to center communication, how fast your moon travels, okay, and how fast your sun travels through light. You have to understand how to go through a 24-hour line center in circle locations of 0, 1s. It's all modified circle location division. Location to its fine line conditions of its measures, and teleportation unit location. Right? Those are 0, 1s and graph location of the grounds. Electric connections in line rotation. Extreme line rotation interference. Okay. 200,000 years. Okay. Docile, 0 line, 0 gravity locations, 23 to the avatar stream. So the avatar recognizes line communication, electrical light divisions, panel communication, electric grid locations. Okay. But the wall circuits and high channels is its hologram structure. Okay. So separation and teleportation units. Local for braking system check. Just line communicating right now, guys. See what you guys are going through. Yeah, it's very fast, guys. This is way beyond. So everything that I'm structuring is 200,000 years, 0.023 in line center location of 001. That's what the avatar sees locations in its mutual line communications through perception. But your perception is no longer in line conditions. It's all levels of digital screen through the eye receptor, right? You see what you want to see. But as long as you're in your time frame of calculations, you're in your provision of space lines, as time, locations, times pi. But it's powerful when you see these things in the future communication. So getting line conditions of 0, line 1s, it's all indentation circles. Rotates location, position, and directions. So if you understand how to look at a wall and how it works for you, you become that line condition. So you're not just traveling, you're merging into everything through information. The faster you go, the more you see. The more you see, the more you become. The more you become, the more you are. Okay? Now, you got the grid lines, right? We always start line center locations. Everything has a structure of DNA. It has to, because it's a strand. Each strand has its own plateau. It's a platform of information. That's a lacing line, a perception. Okay? So you really have to pay attention to these things. Okay? Especially when you're in the future connections of yourself. Right? Once you get into volume, this line communication of velocity, okay, into vector communications, into flux capacitor. Right? channels in position, location, and directions. See? Line crosses streams. It's all about creating shapes. Higher line connections of travel, position, and direction. See? Now, it's really interesting when you create these things all through communication of memory, setting line positions, all levels of travel. Okay? See how it comes together? It's incredible when you understand more of future connection, especially when you come to more answering patterns of your avatar connection position. So, the more it gets complicated, the more it gets fun. You really start to connect with the north, south, and east locations. So, until you look at these things, you look at the triangles and how fast it can travel location, positions, and directions. So, line crossing puts you in all communications. Let's say you get three line centers of three. Three stays at the top line. That sets position of the sun offline communication, right? Now you got the line communication of six, which line center location. Your moon sets line position down across location, right? So again, this is all levels of 200,000 years in future of information. Now, once you understand your shape lines and you understand your structure positions, your digital frame is changing I-receptor locations of coordinates. The digital framing is locking surface. Now, it gets more complicated because you're traveling faster. Okay? So you really have to analyze what you're seeing through your digital lockings, your anagrams, okay, your podcast positions, your digital eyes, your laser grid line rotations. It's all calculated and modified inside of you. So this will give you a better understanding where your avatar is in its own future of communication. It's all levels of you, right? So once you understand the geometry line, you understand the foundation, okay? But you have to really understand the operation to its geometrics. And then you understand the locations when it comes into all levels of youth information. How to use it is all through track. You're tracking your information, your GPS line. That sets coordinates to all line positions to its digital framing. It realigns, readjusts, and refocuses where it needs to be in its time lane. The time lane, it locks its line communication into a program setting. It's like going through a dimensional door. Open up, right? So, it's like opening one dimension to another dimension, going through electrical grid, electrical panel, electrical interference, electrical road graph line centers, spaceships flying above line center, 4 feet off the ground line rotations, electrical fields, so many sign lines of communication of electrical grid rotations. When you start seeing the future and you become the future, you start living in the mind of space of future. And things start connecting. And then we understand the correlation where it comes into letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols. It's all holographic streams. The communication line center of rotation is to understand how to calculate and modify and how to communicate to everything through shape. It's got line communications, right? All through triangulation. So the formation of its line center opens all levels of higher calculation, right? So it's a future graph of you. It's a geometry line center of you. It's an AI vessel of communication of you. It's a geometric operation, direction, division of dimension of you. Okay? So you really, really have to start connecting to your times pi through your calculation. Okay? All right. Yeah, the more you become, the more you merge. Yeah, that's right, Kennedy. That's exactly what it is. You become, and then you are, and then you set locations, right? So, okay, let's see. Shining out words in the dark with glowing light. Light is also music. Okay, got it found where I can start it. So You know exactly what you need to do is really get your answers within, right? But it's better when you actually see what you need to see. Truth prevails right there when you see it right smack in your face. You see it right in front of you, right? And you're thinking, that's me. I didn't think it was possible. But nothing is impossible. Okay? Especially when you see it right in front of you, 2 feet in front of you, talking to you. Do you see how powerful that is? And this is something that you can look forward to. This automatically is going to put you in a calming center, right? It's a huge, huge graphical system how to use your grid centers, how to calculate, and how to use it in all formation through harmonics, right? Especially when you see your future locations of yourself. All right. Let's see. Makes perfect sense. Yeah. And the more you stay in space, the more you see. Big clouds blow, fill in the sky. Yeah, and see that's exactly what it is, Embedder. It's way beyond the control of being impressive in anything in line connections. It's just to understand how to adapt its system location to future communication, how it's so important, especially when you're actually seeing you. You can't go wrong because it's you in the future. You're just not in the future. You are the future by technology. So it's kind of like it's on standby and it's 500 million years in the future and it's waiting for your command. That's all this is. Right? So back on track center location, geometry, and interference. Direct locations are levels, geometric patterns in communication systems. Sets the line communications, how your line connects all lines, position of the sun, communication of the moon. So it's important you understand these things because the geometry changes line directions in each way and form. Okay, setting line communication, right? Setting new channel operation system. You have to learn how to merge into different travel locations. Okay, look at that. That's a geometric shape of travel. Very, very powerful. So, getting line communication streams its units. Now, those units stay in Heinlein center. Okay, this volumes and how much you recognize your locations, your iris locations. Okay, so once you get into that, you come into line communications, all levels of higher divisions, high centers of communication of dimensional settings. Okay, so it rotates and comes out of its equation on a 45-degree line center. Okay, see how it travels? And I set up the security line position of 12 line center locations in position, all through dimension. See? Ooh, ah. So this is how you travel through the geometric pattern of the avatar stream into 200,000 0.023 line center and 0.001 line center rotations into future communication. So many levels that we have to understand. Okay. Oh, Doctor Strange. Yeah. Yeah, that's like a dimension within a dimension and within a dimension. So it's like a visionary cortex line. So every time you get up in the morning line center, this is what his locations. These are 3-dimensional door locks, 4-line positions, right? 4-dimensional doors. Okay, let's start with that line center. Okay, so each door represents your location into your teleportation unit. So your travel location's in position. You're here. trying to figure out what are these doors inside line center. You're traveling in position, right? So you're going to go with these dimensions, but each one's going to pull you in a different direction. And this is what you're not aware of. You have no idea what you're doing when you're traveling through dimensional locations. So you have to start recognizing staying in focus line streams of your self-line connections, because if you don't understand the measure communication system, you're going to be off on line center, all through communications, right? There's so many dimensional line streams there. So the galaxy surfaces in line universe and line rotation in position of one graph. Stream opens one-dimensional lock. One-dimensional lock that surfaces one line center to one DNA strand to your chakra system of Stargate program setting. Now, in that line position, you start with your 12 DNA. Okay? You start with your 12 DNA, right? Centering line centers, crops locations. Crop circle understands galaxy. So this galaxy location equals locations into box locations into line center vector communications over line pi. Over line. Okay. Over line pi. Not over pi, not under pi, not of pi. Okay. Just pi. Okay. So there's so many ways to travel through the mind line, but the mind has to understand the conception. But here's the quotation. The channel line center in its position is off location, but the reposition location is its track center. Setting new lines of new graph location is one graph stream. That one graph stream is line connecting. So you got the circle line center rotations, and you're always going to have your 12 DNA. It's all connected to the 7 bodies of water, which equal locations into positions of your 5. 5 equals line connections of 12. So that's where it comes in information. Circle line center and line center location into vector, cross lines of volume into position location into the flux capacitor. So there's so many ways you can look yourself in line center. Line center communication is its box position, equal location into its triangle line communications, right? So this is a box communicating with a triangle. So this is a male communicating with a female. Who would have thought? You're talking to intelligence now. You want to understand higher levels of calculation and future line communication? This is all about understanding how you use your thought lines. So you get a box position location of 4 line position of directions. 4 box circles, okay, in line center rotation, right? So they're traveling extremely in line center and position location directions, right? Now, the triangle line center is in hesitation mode. So it's automatically putting up its plasma channel communication electrical E field position because it really does understand the triangle line center. So it's protecting its system right away. It doesn't like the conversation piece. It doesn't like the vibration and has a gap interference. The grounds of the operation is separating the perception locations. So getting at a calculation center line stream location of box position location opens all levels of a new box location. Center line connections. So one line center locations. It's like clothesline. Okay, it opens up a new sequence pattern. Right? So when it opens up a new line communication, the triangle line center sets line tones in positions to its opposite system, communicates to its line communications. Right? So once it understands the central line communication, the circle line center rotates its system and communicates to the upline center line conditions. Okay? Sets a line communication. And this is all through geometry line centers of a box and a triangle. This is a male and a female position of triangulation, all through a shape. It's a story through a story. That's all we are. That's all we are. We just have to learn how to communicate on everything inside us, which is triangulation of everything around us. Okay? So in that position, once the triangle is more comfortable with the calculation of the communication graph through the box line center of its closed line communication system of the 4-point line center line position of directions, it automatically communicates with the center operation. Hoo-ah. Line connects in line center rotations and merges in position of directions of correlation into its vessel, right? Which means the male and the female become one, all through triangulation. Do you see how powerful it is? All through shapes. So this is the correlation where the male of the box and the female of the triangle really have to understand each other through telepathy. Right? It's got to be line communication. This is not line communication. This is not line communication. This is not line communication. This is line communication. Eye to eye, eye to eye, eye to eye. It's a lot more different when you're in space channels. When you're in space channels, you're in a retro line center stream. That retro line center stream is setting line position location into its measure, setting scale lines into your receptor. The receptor and its channel of its operation stream location sets line communications into balance line connections, merging in position of teleportation in a unit line location of travel. All through a box and all through a triangle. Hoo-ah. What do you think of that? Yeah, it is. It's pretty fascinating stuff. I just want to show you guys have to have a full cycle of rotational line positions, get direct location to your system, and really just concentrate on you, your vessel, your operation, your calculations, your AI connection. Once you understand that, you stay in the positive business location. You just get in a relationship with yourself, find a partnership, then you are good to go. Right? If you understand the full rotation of you inside locations, you have a better relationship with you. The avatar already knows its calculation of its future communication system. It's the physical system that has to wait up, catch up, I'm ready for you. Right? So once the physical line really starts to surrender and starts to accept, it finally comes into a formation of what? A box or a triangle. Multi-pass. That direct line center line rotation interference location calculations is times pi. Well, what'd you think? Pi is male and female? No. Pi is just space. And the space in between is your time line. From here to here is pi. It's your time maintenance to get from one place to another. Everything in between is space that's inside you. That's an expansion of your bandwidth, of your cloud, of your mind, of your absorption, location, of exploration. So now you understand that. Is that the male position location is turning into a box times pi. And the female is turning into a triangle equals calculations times pi. Whoa. Now you're starting to understand the importance as the avatar sees more levels of its future communication system and understands more timelines, all levels of its future communication system, and finally sees times pi through the box or the triangle. Everything comes together. Makes sense, doesn't it? You're thinking, whoa, why didn't I think of that? Well, because there's no thinking, only knowing and doing. Knowing and doing, knowing and doing, knowing and doing, knowing and doing. No hesitation, no anticipation, and that correlation. Building a relationship with you first is number one. Once you understand that, then you get into letters, numbers, shapes, and symbols, because everything that you see outside is all levels of a shape, of structure. Everything is calculated, modified, already operated in position, location, of its future communication system. So once you come out of that track line center, either you're a box of a male or a triangle of a female, then you understand their circumference location when it comes into times pi. Right? Thumbs up? All right. So, yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? So you're thinking, wait a minute. So that makes a lot of sense. So the avatar is starting to see the project location of the visible line now is in a shape line position of a box of a triangle. Times pi in both line position location is its measure, opens as a scale communication system, position directions. Whoa, that was so cool. You learn something new every day, but that every day is the same day in line. To travel location is to understand your position of where you are, you have tar connection. It's how you feel through all your senses. You have 5 sense lines, equal location of 3. That's 8. That's infinity 8-line center rotation interference of telepathy communication system. So 8-line centers, equal locations of lines 12, 12 being 8-line center rotation, right? You get into that modification cycle, read line centers, its locations. So you get 8 channels of operation, and you got 12 line center locations. This is line position location in your DNA. Sets communication on line center, rotates its locations into Fibonacci line conditions, and position location to your planet location. All levels of its line center. So, all right, so we're at 41 line centers and 5 direct line centers in line rotation and positions, taking you into all right, you guys are back. So, what have we learned today? What we learn is what we need to understand is to accept everything that happens to us every single day when it comes into emotional line connections. Really understand the modems of the moon of you, which is your Wi-Fi, your audio input locations, and everything with your sun, which is your lights. The sun communicates to the pixel stream location. It's your T reception line. So it's all about correlation to the sun and the moon, how it track line, center location, space, and side line position. So getting better positions with your directions. Once you see something, you become, you are. You become, you are. You become, you are. You're not looking. You're not observing. You're becoming. So when you understand that, and the avatar sees the physical line center of times pi, which is box or its triangle of its male or its female. Now we can get the film project location, the story frame line center, and a calculation system. Better direction locations and both angle point location. Okay, this is going to scale you guys on so many levels of space. To understand what a half pipe is when it comes into dimensional log centers or anything through calculation modification of space position. Once you understand these things, then everything gets a lot more fun because you start to realize everything is connected inside of you. This volumes on so many levels of you of travel, right? But you have to focus on yourself. Stay within your line center, loving thyself unconditionally in all formats. And then you understand your times pi of box and triangle of the male and the female. Okay? All right. So that was fun. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about, don't we? All right, so I'll give you guys to recuperation, drink your waters. I'll see you soon. Adios.